I hope that low-rise jeans never ever ever make a comeback though, because woof, what a curse. You don't get this blonde with a box, baby. Also, wait, I'm sorry. The stepdaughter is named Chutney? My name's Leja. I'm a real-life lawyer and I'm on a mission to demystify the law and how it affects your everyday life. Today, we're gonna watch Legally Blonde. If you can't tell, I dressed up for this video. First of all, my roots are fresh. Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's a lot of bleed. I also, oh, you can't even see it. Gosh. This is as much pink as exists in my wardrobe. The only other pink thing is this blouse that I got from Forever 21. I think when I was literally 21. So yeah, I'm doing the best that I can. If you're new to the channel, you might not know that I mainly wear just like black and white. But for Elle, I'm putting on a little pink. A lot of this movie is about the first year of law school, which I am pretty familiar with because I did that already. So I'm excited to watch it. Now a fully graduated lawyer. Before we get started, I'd like to let you know that I am a lawyer, but I am not your lawyer, and nothing that I say should be construed as legal advice. You should always seek the advice of a licensed attorney whenever you have a legal question. If you find this video entertaining, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you want to hear more from me. Also, I will be sipping on a little bit of wine throughout this movie. Please know that I am over 21. Don't get too riled up about it, shall we?
One else. People say that it's just a thing.
Oh man, the early 2000s, my god. The low-rise jeans, the bright satins, the orange and pink combo. I hope that low-rise jeans never ever ever make a comeback though, because woof, what a curse. Oh man, I have that same necklace. Come on. Box herbal essences, blonde hair dye. Give me a break. You don't get this blonde with a box, baby. Dream on. Get real. Also, this is literally why I could never move to California. I'm pretty sure all the girls there look like this. That's right? Like every girl in California looks this hot. I don't think I need that. I think that's bad for my mental health. Are there ugly people who live in California? Hey, California ugly people, will you comment below? Because I just am curious. Okay, thank you. Okay, those Scary Spice buns though, very in. Always have been in, always gonna be in. I rest my case.
Oh, I can't believe you're getting engaged!
They're like 22. I certainly was not about to get engaged when I was 22. And honestly, thank God for that. Ah, bruiser.
There's nothing I love more than a dumb blonde with daddy's plastic.
Is this low viscosity rayon?
Yes, of course.
It's impossible to use a half loop top stitching on low viscosity rayon. It would snag the fabric. And you didn't just get it in. I saw it in the June Vogue a year ago. So if you're trying to sell it to me for full price, you picked the wrong girl.
That's right, because if you're blonde, you're not dumb. Dumb blonde really feels like it is one of those stereotypes that has officially been canceled. I don't think anyone could make a dumb blonde joke under the age of like 40 and anyone else under the age of 40 would laugh at it. Like no one thinks that anymore. So thank you in part to Elle Woods for undoing this harmful rhetoric. Ugh, that guy. Why are those ladies just standing there watching?
Harvard is going to be different. Law school is a completely different world, and I need to be serious.
Of course.
I plan on running for office someday.
And I fully support that, Warner. You know that, right?
Absolutely. Okay. But the thing is, if I'm going to be a senator by the time I'm 30, I need to stop dicking around.
Warner, I completely agree.
Well, that's why I think it's time for us. Elle. Pooh Bear.
Yes.
I think we should break up.
Listen, you know what I think? Dump them! Here's why. There's a number of law students who go into law school with the end goal of running for office. You can kind of sniff them out too, and a lot of times they're a little sleazy. They just like feel like politicians already. They're just like saying things to be nice in a way that's like, what do you want from me that you're being this nice, you know? You want my vote one day, don't you? There's a whole slew of them, especially I assume at Harvard. This guy's a loser. She should dump him.
If I'm gonna be a senator, well, I need to marry a Jackie, not a Marilyn.
Look, we all know JFK preferred Marilyn.
Sweetheart, you don't need law school. Law school's for people who are boring and ugly and serious. And you button None of those things.
It's true.
But that's a top 3 school.
Oh, I have a 4.0.
Yes. But your major is fashion merchandising. Harvard won't be impressed that you aced history of polka dots. You'll need excellent recommendations from your professors
Okay.
and a heck of an admissions essay. And at least a 175 on your LSATs.
You don't need to study something law related to go to law school. Fashion merchandising, actually, she could spin that into something that would really benefit her in her law school application and in her subsequent job applications. Merchandising sounds like she knows how to sell things, how to market things, how to work with clients. She pays attention to detail because she understands the intricacies of the fashion world, and she has a creative eye, which I think a lot of lawyers appreciate because a lot of lawyers don't feel they have a creative eye. I think she is a strong candidate, though it is true that she will need at least 175 probably on her LSAT in order to get in. The LSAT is the law school admissions test, I think that stands for. The highest score you can get on an LSAT is 180. That's perfect score. It's pretty unheard of. If you get anything above a 170, you can get into the top 20 schools in the country, usually if you have a strong GPA from a good school. To get into law school, you have to have your GPA has to be good from a good school. You have to have letters of recommendation. You have to write a statement, an essay of some sort explaining who you are and why, what you would add to the law school, what you're bringing to the table, your unique experiences, things like that. And you have to take the dreaded LSAT. LSAT happens like 4 times a year. It's recommended that you study between 3 to 6 months for it. And you do need to get in the 170s in order to get considered at a lot of these schools. Unless, of course, you're a legacy and then that's different. If your dad went there and he's now powerful and has money. We all saw in the admission scandals that there are no rules if that's you. But for the most part, this is accurate.
A. Neither type of opera or neither type of rap is on sale. B. Neither type of jazz and neither type of opera is on sale. C. Neither type of...
That is an actual LSAT practice question. I remember I finished studying for the LSAT. The night before I took it, I watched this film just for fun. That question I remembered reviewing while studying for the LSAT. It's real.
143. $179. I remember when I watched this the night before I took the LSAT, I was perplexed. She started with a 143 and went all the way to a 179. That's like unheard of. Yes, I'm just jealous. Leave me alone. With that score, you can get into whatever school you want, basically.
My name is Elle Woods, and for my admissions essay, I'm going to tell all of you at Harvard why I'm going to make an amazing lawyer.
As president of my sorority, I'm skilled at commanding the attention of a room and discussing very important issues.
I'm able to recall hundreds of important details at the drop of a hat.
Hey, Elle, do you know what happened on Days of Our Lives yesterday?
I feel comfortable using legal jargon in everyday life. I object. That's why you should vote for me, Elle Woods, future lawyer for the class of 2004.
That is probably what the decision makers at
She
Harvard do.
does have a 4.0 from CULA, and she got a 179 on her LSATs.
A fashion major?
Her list of extracurricular activities is impressive.
She was in a Ricky Martin video.
Clearly, she's interested in music.
Elle Woods. Welcome to Harvard.
Good for you. I don't remember. I applied to a number of law schools and none of them allowed video essays. I don't know if that's a thing, but that certainly makes for better watching than a boring essay. And you know what? She highlighted some good things. Capable of speaking to large groups and arguing for her side. I object is a thing that some lawyers say a lot. Recalling facts is good. If you're a lawyer, these are good. These are good things that good skills she has. So good for her. If I were an academic advisor, I would probably have advised that she maybe highlight her merchandising experience and why that makes her a smart analytical thinker. But you know what? What do I know?
This is our new house for the next 3 years. Oh, are you thirsty? Okay, let's get you some water.
That is an accurate representation of what Bostonians look like. That's true. It's like kind of drab. Sorry. Though I will say that
Usually if you're in law school, you're not living in the dorms, though a lot of law schools do offer dorm type situations. In my experience, most law students live off campus, especially considering the fact that her parents clearly are extremely wealthy. She wouldn't be living in a dorm. She'd be living in like some beautiful apartment in Cambridge or something.
My name is David Kidney. I have a master's in Russian literature, a PhD in biochemistry, and for the last 18 months, I've been deworming orphans in Somalia.
Awesome. What about you?
Hey, how you doing? I'm Enid Wexler, got a PhD from Berkeley in Women's Studies, emphasis in the history of combat. And last year, I single-handedly organized the March for Lesbians Against Drunk Driving.
Killer.
Thanks, good times.
Aaron Mitchell. I graduated first in my class from Princeton. I have an IQ of 187. And it's been suggested that Stephen Hawking stole his brief history of time from my 4th grade paper.
That's not an inaccurate representation of law students. Especially during orientation week, it's a lot of like, yeah, well, I did this, and these are the other things that I've done, and like, now I'm, you know, law school, whatever. I would not be shocked if there were, especially white guys, who rolled in on the first day of law school telling people what their IQ was. This all fits, and it's correct. Yes, accurate.
Would you rather have a client who committed a crime malum in se or malum prohibitum?
Neither.
And why is that?
I would rather have a client who's innocent.
That's a good answer.
Yes, Ms. Woods.
I changed my mind. I'd pick the dangerous one, because I'm not afraid of a challenge.
Also a good answer.
Our group is full.
Oh, is this like an RSVP thing?
No, it's like a smart people thing. And as Viv said, we're full.
Come on, guys, we can make room for one more.
Ow. We've already assigned the outlines. The answer is no.
Okay, so study groups are a real thing that people do in law school, where you form a group of students and you study together and you do outlines together. Outlines basically are when, as you're going through the class, you create a master document from which you can study, and it helps you to formulate your thoughts and get ready for the final at the end of the semester. So a lot of times students will form groups and study together. It's a great way to have moral support and to kind of bounce ideas off each other and talk things out, which is really important when you're learning really hard concepts. There's no group limit, so they could have let her in. However, I did find that there were study groups that seemed to have kind of bad vibes, and this is definitely a bad vibe study group. Like, she would be much better off forming her own. I personally didn't have a study group. I had like one guy that I talked to who was really chill, and we just bounce ideas off each other, and that worked for me. And a lot of people don't use study groups at all. It's a personal choice, but it is accurate that a lot of people do use study groups in law school.
Oh my God.
Okay, it is accurate that law students often like to party a lot. It's a great way to get to know each other. It's also a great way to consume way more alcohol than you really need, but you blow off steam that way and you bond. There's a lot of commiseration that goes along with law school, so this is accurate that there are law student house parties. And sometimes they are actual costume parties, and they're really fun. Honestly, I think if anyone showed up looking like that to any of the house parties I went to in law school, people would have been like, all right, Elle's having a good time.
And the purpose of diminished capacity is
To negate mens rea?
That's correct. In criminal law, part of a crime is known as mens rea. That's the mental state of the person committing the crime. If you have diminished capacity or some sort of incapacity due to mental illness, for example, it might negate mens rea if, say, the crime requires intent. If you can't intentionally do something because you have diminished capacity, because you are mentally ill, for example, then you can't have committed the crime because you couldn't have had intent in the first place. So, good job, Elle.
I'm Elle Woods, Miss Bonafante's attorney. And I'm here to discuss the legal situation at hand.
Come again?
Do you understand what subject matter jurisdiction is?
No.
I didn't think so. Well, due to habeas corpus, you and Miss Bonafante had a common law marriage, which heretofore entitles her to what is legally referred to as equitable division of the assets.
Well, what she said was definitely inaccurate, but in terms of what a first-year law student would know, a little inaccurate. So let's start off with subject matter jurisdiction. That is something you would know as a first-year law student and maybe not entirely know how to apply it yet. Subject matter jurisdiction is something that courts can have over specific types of cases. So if a court has subject matter jurisdiction over a case, it means that it can hear a case. If it doesn't have subject matter jurisdiction over the case, then it can't appear in front of the court. You learn that in civil procedure. Habeas corpus is a petition that you can file. It's something that's typical of people who are currently incarcerated to file in order to contest their incarcerated status. Obviously not applicable here, but it is a phrase that a first-year law student would at least have heard before, and most people have heard before. Common law marriage, potentially. Some states allow common law marriage. I don't know if Massachusetts does. I don't think so. Common law marriage is just if you've been cohabitating with your partner for a certain amount of time based on the statute, and you've been presenting yourselves as a married couple, and you've been living as though you were married, you can attain what's called a common law marriage. Not all states recognize this, though. And it is true that under common law marriage, there is an equitable division of the assets, meaning that if you are separating after a common law marriage and you're trying to figure out who gets what property, the courts are going to look at a number of different factors based on the relationship and who owns what and how the relationship functioned and how long it was, but the courts would try to do an equitable division of the assets. However, as a first-year law student, you're not going to know what equitable division of the assets is because you don't take family law until later in law school. But that's funny, and I am obsessed with that dog.
This is Emmett Richmond, another associate, top 3 in his class, and former editor of Harvard Law Review. You've probably seen him lurking around campus doing my research.
You know what? I never realized in all of the viewings I've had of this movie that Luke Wilson is an associate at his law firm and not an assistant professor. That's wild. So what he's saying here is Luke Wilson is an associate, which is like, it's like a lower level person in the firm. So this guy's probably a partner, and Luke Wilson is an associate who works closely with him on cases. I don't really know why an associate would go to Harvard Law School to do work and research when they work at a firm and have an office at the firm. That doesn't really make sense. Also, I may be wrong about this, but in my experience, partners at law firms don't teach classes like criminal law in law school because that's such like a foundational class. You really have to dedicate a lot of time to that. And people who are practicing law but also teach law school classes on the side typically teach things like evidence, for example, or something that's a one-off class and not a foundational class to your legal experience. So I think this is a little inaccurate. However, it does creep me out less now that her and Luke are like hitting on each other for this entire movie, knowing that he's an associate and not like a professor. The power dynamic there is a little bit less creepy to me.
Exercise gives you endorphins. Endorphins make you happy. Happy people just don't shoot their husbands.
I will say that's not going to hold up in a court of law. Also, I don't think when you're forming a case as a criminal defense attorney that you're automatically going to assume that the person you're defending is guilty. He's brought them all to the prison to interview this client, and she's telling him she's not guilty, and I do not believe that a partner at a law firm would take a bunch of students as a first interview to a new criminal defendant. There's a lot of people to bring into the room, and it's gonna freak the client out. I don't know, maybe it depends on the law firm. Also, wait, I'm sorry. The stepdaughter is named Chutney?
He was 34 years older than you. That doesn't look so good to a jury.
Then show them a picture of his dick.
Okay, this is not really how you're going to be interviewing your client who's paying you to represent her. You have to have more empathy. I mean, I talk about this in other videos, I'll link them right here, but like, you have to have more empathy for your client. You can't get in there and interrogate them as though you're the other side. I mean, that comes eventually because you want to prep them to be a witness if that's what they're going to do at their own trial. But like, when you're meeting with a client for the first time, you're not going to stand up and be like, your story doesn't line up and I don't believe you at all, especially if they're paying you like hundreds of dollars an hour to represent them.
One of my lawyers?
Yeah, sort of.
Well, thank God one of you has a brain.
Oh, also, I forgot to mention earlier, and here as well, if you're a law student, you cannot represent to people that you are an attorney or a lawyer, because you're not. And it goes against ethical rules and could bar you from ever even becoming a barred attorney who can practice in the future. So that's the second time she says it. The first time she said it when she was confronting what's-her-face's guy in the trailer park and says, I'm her attorney. That's really, really unethical, and you would face pretty severe professional punishment if anyone ever found out that you're representing to people that you're an actual lawyer when you're not.
Oh my God, the bend and snap works every time.
That's true.
Entire Clinique skincare line, some aromatherapy candles.
There is no way, A, that she would be able to go into what looks like a pretty high security prison with all that shit. There's no way. Second, as a second-year law student who's like the bottom of the rung intern at a large law firm, you can't just roll into the prison and meet with a client. That's literally unfathomable. Like, it kind of gives me heart palpitations just thinking about like doing that, because it's so, you have no idea what you're doing, you don't know what you're looking for, you don't even know how to get into the prison to begin with. And usually if you're going into a prison, you have to give them some sort of reason why you're going in there. A lot of times you have to give them your bar number and the fact that you are representing this person as an attorney. And if she did that, this is the third time that she has represented that she is someone's attorney when she is not, which is pretty bad. So yeah, this is really unrealistic.
I want the alibi.
I can't give it to you, but I can tell you she is innocent.
Mr. Callahan, Mrs. Wyndham Vandemark is on line 2 for you.
Someone reason with her while I take this.
Are you crazy? Just tell him the alibi.
No.
We're gonna lose this case if you don't.
Well, then we're not very good lawyers.
If you tell him, he'll probably hire you as a summer associate. Who cares about Brooke? Think about yourself.
Well, that's slimy. So basically, the blow up here is not as much as it probably would be if an actual intern were to go to the prison and meet with a client. I really think there would have been like actual consequences for her, not just people being like, come on, just tell us, we're gonna lose the case if you don't. A summer associate is someone who works for a law firm over the summer, usually after the second year of their law school career. Oftentimes, if you land a summer associate position for that summer, if you do well and you don't completely mess it up, you are given a job offer at the end of that summer associateship for after you graduate law school. Here, actually, it's a little inaccurate because this is supposedly their second year of law school. That's when this internship was going to happen. And usually, especially when you're at a place like Harvard, you do what's called OCI, which is on-campus interviews, where the summer after your first year of law school, big law firms come to the law school, you send them your application, and then they interview you and give you an offer for a summer associate position the next summer. So you can get a summer associate position lined up in August after your first year of law school for the following summer, and then if you don't mess up that summer associate position, you can get a job offer for the following year after you graduate. So usually you lock in a summer associate position in the summer after your 1L year, and they're already into their 2L year. And especially if you're at Harvard, unless you're like doing really badly, I think you kind of just naturally get a lot of options, or at least a handful of options for a summer associate position, because big law firms obviously love to go for the highest ranked schools. So here it's not super accurate that she just wouldn't already have a summer associate position lined up, especially considering it looks like she's been getting really good grades. So that's an inaccurate statement.
His wife seems to be unconcerned with the fact that her interview is today. She's at a spa.
I could go if you want me to.
Emmett,
Yeah.
go with her.
Okay.
They would not be sending an intern to interview a witness or any key player in a lawsuit. They would be sending maybe Emmett, and then she would be accompanying him, but it wouldn't be her going and Emmett accompanying her. Like the amount of power throughout this movie that this second-year law student is given, like a large firm's representation of a criminal defendant who's paying a lot of money, is very inaccurate.
Gay men know designers. Straight men don't.
Know what? He did leave a shared tape in the pool house one time.
That's right. All gay men know about Prada shoes, and all straight men do not. That's just the fact.
Do you have any proof that you and Mrs. Wyndham were having an affair?
When questioning a witness, you stand and you keep standing behind that table. You don't approach the bench. If you want to approach the bench, you have to ask the judge, may I approach the bench? This is a common thing that they do in TV shows and movies where the lawyers are wandering all around and yelling and talking to the jury and then talking to the witness and coming really close to the witness and getting in their face, and that's just not what happens.
Just give me a couple minutes. Did you ever take Mrs. Wyndham on a date?
Yes.
Where?
A restaurant in Concord where no one could recognize us.
And how long have you been sleeping with Mrs. Wyndham?
3 months.
And your boyfriend's name is?
Chuck.
Right.
Silence!
Pardon me.
Yes, Mr. Salvatore.
I was confused.
Oh.
You see, I thought you said friend. Chuck is just a friend.
Oh, okay.
You bitch! Chuck, wait! Silence in my court. Sit down.
now, Mr. Salvatore.
It's very rare when an associate just stands up in the middle of trial and says to the partner, just trust me on this one. I'm gonna ask him some questions. And the partner's like, chill with it. That's just not gonna happen. Also, again, you see he's directly in his face. Not gonna happen, but it is accurate that the judge, if there's any sort of disruption in the court, is going to be very quick to tell everyone to be quiet, to try to get things back into order.
You're a beautiful girl.
So everything you just said?
I'm a man who knows what he wants.
And I'm a law student who just realized her professor is a pathetic asshole.
Too bad. I thought you were a law student who wanted to be a lawyer.
Here's the thing though, she doesn't need him. If she's getting great grades at Harvard Law School, she doesn't need some schmuck. She can go wherever she wants to go.
Get up.
What?
You're fired. I have new representation.
Who?
Excuse you, you're in my way.
She's a law student. She can't defend you.
Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court ruling 3.03.
See?
So 303 certification is an actual thing in Massachusetts which allows law students to practice law in certain capacities. You have to do it under the supervision of an attorney. Here Luke Wilson is saying, I'm in a supervisor, she can represent this client. However, Rule 303 doesn't allow you to just take the reins of an entire criminal defense trial and just run it, and no attorney in his right mind would ever allow a law student to take the reins in this way. Like, there are so many ethical problems, there are so many threats to his ability to remain barred if she does anything wrong. Also, it would be a huge conflict of interest if this woman fires a partner at his law firm and then hires this new guy at the same law firm to represent her instead. There's all sorts of ethical dilemmas in here, on top of the fact that a second-year law student just is not qualified in any way to run a criminal trial. He's jeopardizing his career and his position at this law firm. Like, there's no way he's going to keep his job after letting this second-year law student take the reins in this clearly very high-profile criminal case. It's just not accurate. I'm also quite certain that the judge would have more extensive questioning to Miss Wyndham to make sure that she does actually know what she's doing, because every criminal defendant deserves competent representation, and if you're allowing a student to represent you, then maybe you've lost your mind a little bit. So I think the judge would have a little more concern here.
Not only is there no proof in this case, but there's a complete lack of mens rea, which by definition tells us that there can be no crime without a vicious will.
I am aware of the meaning of mens rea. What I'm unaware of is why you're giving me a vocabulary lesson when you should be questioning your witness.
Look, that's a fair criticism. When you're questioning a witness, it's not your time to stand up and speak to the jury. That happens in opening statements when the trial begins and the attorneys get up in front of the jury and lay out their case and what they're about to prove to them and what their version of the story is. And then after that, it's witness questioning. You're not talking to the jury and then talking to the witness. You are just questioning the witness. So here she's talking to, I don't even know who, and that's not allowed. If she's questioning a witness, she needs to stand up and question the witness.
But thankfully, that same day, she entered the Beta Delta Pi wet t-shirt contest where she was completely hosed down from head to toe.
Objection. Why is this relevant?
That's a fair objection. Again, she's talking to the jury when she should be questioning the witness. The point that she's making is valid. However, if she's going to make it, she needs to make it via questioning the witness, which she gets to eventually. But here she's just talking to the jury. That wouldn't be allowed.
Isn't it the first cardinal rule of perm maintenance that you're forbidden to wet your hair for at least 24 hours after getting a perm, at the risk of deactivating the ammonium thioglycolate?
Yes.
And wouldn't somebody who's had, say, 30 perms before in their life be well aware of this rule? And if, in fact, you weren't washing your hair, as I suspect you weren't because your curls are still intact.
There would be an objection in here about compound questions. You can't repeatedly question witnesses like this. You have to allow them time to answer.
I thought it was you walking through the door.
Order, order. Order.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Oh my God. Bailiff, take the witness into custody where she will be charged for the murder of Hayworth Wyndham. In the matter of the State versus Brooke Wyndham, this case is dismissed. Mrs. Wyndham, you're free to go.
Really heartwarming. Good job, Elle. You know, it might not be the most accurate depiction of everything about law school, but look, it's iconic. I don't know what law student hasn't seen it at least once before. It's fun, and we love to see a blonde succeed. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments if you have any movies or TV shows you'd like me to watch and react to. Give this video a thumbs up if you found it entertaining, and hit that subscribe button if you want to hear more from me. Thanks so much. Have a good day. Goodbye.